Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Art of Creation Homestead. It is our favorite day of the year. We're going to plant our garden today, all right? Obviously, we've planted a lot of our, if not all of our raised beds and containers and grow bags, green stalks, everything like that. We've planted most of that stuff, if not all of it. But now it's time to do this one, the in-ground garden, right? the glory of all gardeners. But before we get started, I had to go through and lay out the rows, because laying out the rows for us is very has to be very specific, has to be very intentional, because we do have a limited space. Obviously, we only have so much ground tilled up. I don't want to till up any more ground, and so we have to be very intentional about where we lay the rows out at. So I take a tape measure, measure the amount of space I need between each row, knowing what we're going to put in each row, and then have to lay that out. Then I'll go through, kind of rake it out a little bit, add our soil amendments, and lay out the rows specifically so that we can go through and easily plant what we need as far as the plants. But when we get down to the other stuff like corn and our pink eye purples and things like that, it'll be a little different down there. But up here in the top end of the garden where we put our tomatoes and our peppers, we have to be very intentional, so we get the best space possible while still getting in the most plants we can, because let's just face it, we grow a lot of plants. Okay, so we got all these peppers planted. There's 23 sweet peppers in the ground here and 2 ground cherries in the back. Now when I do the peppers, we do something a little bit unorthodox. I'll take it and I'll measure out 8 inches between each pepper plant of each individual variety. We like to plant our peppers a little closer. That they just produce better if they're closer together a little bit. So somehow it's a crazy thing, but that's just the way it has always worked well for us. So we'll I'll measure out 8 inches between each pepper plant of each of the same variety, but then separate the varieties by about 1 foot. And as I was doing that, Angela Kay went over and scraped out her row of beans, and she started planting the bean seeds. And 57 plants later, we got ourselves some tomatoes and peppers in the dirt. So what I did here is I spaced our tomato plants out 2 feet apart, and I use a good generous portion of bone meal around the hole and in the hole with each plant. That's for extra calcium. The bone meal I'm using has a little bit of nitrogen and more phosphorus. It's like a 680, so it's got a little bit more for phosphorus in it, and tomatoes really need a good amount of phosphorus as well. So it's got a good amount of phosphorus in there, and we did put kelp meal on the ground when we fertilized earlier, okay? That's for more potassium. Tomatoes, the flavor of them depends on the soil, okay? It's just like coffee. Coffee is grown in different areas, obviously, but depending on the soil, you get different flavors of coffee. Tomatoes going to be the same way. Your soil is going to dictate the sweetness and the acidity level of your tomato, okay? So we fertilize those with some bone meal and some kelp. There's some kelp on the peppers as well. But so I did that, spaced them 2 feet apart. And while I did that, Angela Kay went and planted these tromboncina. It's a big loopy looking squash that people love to grow. She planted those down this other trellis, and she put some more beans down there. And here we are on day 2 of planting the garden. We're just a little bit left to plant. We finished planting the corn last night, and now we have Angela set up 5 teepees down here, okay? She's got 1, 2, got them in like a little dice pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Back 3 of these are going to be pink eye purple hull, and these front 2 are going to be some more beans, because we normally plant more pink eye purple hulls, but we still have some left from last year. We lost basically in the freezer, and so we're going to plant 3 teepees of those and 2 teepees of Tar Heel beans. We'll come over here and Angela's going to show you how she sets this up and ties them up, okay?
Okay, I just gather them up, kind of crisscrossing them. They don't have to be perfect. This is very rustic and very haphazard, basically.
Set them up like this on the bottom.
Yeah. These I'm doing 8. The pink eye purple hull ones I did 6. We wanted these to be a little bigger, because beans require more staking, especially Tar Heel beans. They require a lot of staking because they grow really big. Yeah. Then you just want to use some twine.
If your husband doesn't step on it.
I'm just using jute twine. it's the best for this. And you want to do a lock knot, which is just put it over and take it under like normal. But then this one, you do 3 and pull, and you lock that way.
Little Girl Scout over here.
And then I'm working between each one.
What does that do?
It locks each one of them together. That way it doesn't slide, your twine doesn't slide down and cause problems.
I see. So it keeps the teepee together at the top.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And once you've wrapped all the way around that way, and each one is secured, then you can go ahead and cut it. And usually once I've cut it, I crisscross and wrap around again, crisscross, wrap around again, and then I tie another lock knot. And now you've got a secure teepee.
So then we're gonna plant those 5 teepees, and then right here on this lower end, which doesn't get a ton of sun. It's in the sun right now in this little squared off spot, but we're gonna plant some Jackson Wonder butter peas. You can't really see them because of the sun, and some White Dixie butter peas. We love butter peas. They're delicious. They do great in heat, in the heat of the sun, and like in dead summer. But they also adapt well to soil conditions and lighting conditions. So we throw these over here basically because this is an off spot of the garden, and it doesn't get a lot of sun. Doesn't really get enough sun, but it can grow something if the vegetable is a hardy enough and adaptable enough vegetable. So that's why we put these down here in this lower end, just to get them out of the way, and we get what we get off of them if the roly-poly bugs don't eat the beans. All right, y'all, we got so busy we didn't get a chance to actually wrap that video up. So here we are. This is our garden right here behind me. We got about 60 foot of green beans planted. We have 32 tomatoes, 23 peppers, a couple of ground cherries. In this raised bed of green beans, 3 rows of green beans. That raised bed, 3 rows of green beans. They're about 8 foot long a piece. And then squashes over here, zucchinis and squashes over here. Quite a bit of corn and popcorn right here, which you guys know we love growing that popcorn. A couple of teepees of green beans here, some pink eye purple holes peas here. Down here we have White Dixie butter peas and Jackson Wonder butter peas. Again, that's just our in-ground garden. We do plant food all over the place. You know, like grow bags, containers, green stalks, everything. So, in fact, I'm gonna do another video on planting some more stuff. So hey, thank you guys so much for watching. We do appreciate it. That's our garden. Work ain't done yet. It's our recreational homestead. We love you guys. God bless you. Goodbye.